Hi guys, welcome to We're Just Saying episode 18 special edition Writers Workshop. I'm May B.
And I'm Allie 3.
And I'm Pickles Green, but you can call me Pick.
And yay! So this is going to be a bittersweet podcast because first off, it's Mally's last podcast with us, so we're going to make sure it's a really good one for you guys. Secondly, it is Writers Workshop, and this is one thing that we've gotten a lot of requests for, and we finally are able to do it, and you should see, I mean, I sent off the topic list to you guys yesterday, and you should see the actual, like, meat and potatoes of this thing that Mally put together. So this is, it's going to be awesome. So we have a couple.
I did it after a 10-hour shift too.
Yeah.
So I was like ready.
Appreciate it. We're going to have to reiterate the rules once we get more viewers on, but for now I'm gonna state the rules. The Q&A is going to be, you need to make sure that you're asking questions that pertain to the theme of the podcast, which is Writers Workshop. Any other questions like, hey, what's your first fan fiction that you wrote? How did you get into Dragon Ball Z, or how did you get into fan fiction? Not to be rude, but we are going to ignore those questions only because we get them almost every single podcast, and we have so much in this podcast to talk about that we're not going to be able to answer those questions. So, anywho, with that said, Mally or Pick, if you guys want to start with the first topic.
I shall start.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so pretty much what I was discussing not too long ago with maybe as well as Pick. We were talking about different types of writers. Every writer seems to establish their own writing style. No writer is the same when it comes to writing their fan fictions. One can be completely different than the next, and it doesn't matter what kind of writing style. It's as long as you're able to draw in your reader, I think you're golden. Mm-hmm. I have come across, over the years of reading fan fiction and books, period, you'll tend, to me, I don't know about you guys, but I've tended to see a lot of, there are like two distinct ones, and then there's a mixture of them. There are some writers that are very strict, very, their grammar is fantastic. Their descriptions are well written, but they're not as whimsical. They're just very hard and to the point, pretty much. And then you get the writers that are very whimsical, very artsy. They like to attract the reader's senses. They like to pretty much let you in on their body flow, everything. So, I mean, either one, you can still get that nice, clear view of what's going on, but one may be a little bit more strict and more proper, and one may be more whimsical. There's also a mixture. There's some people who are very, very strict, very proper, as well as whimsical, and that's okay, too. And, of course, there's none that are I'm not saying that these are the only categories, obviously, but this is what I found. And I also think that when you're reading fan fiction, you tend to either fall in one category or the other. I mean, there's not, like I said, there's not very, if you guys want to add on this, I'm not really sure where else I want to go with that one.
Well,
but
yeah, I mean, everyone has their own unique style, and in saying that as well, I mean, people will try different things as well, so they might try one style and then switch it up and things like that. But I definitely agree with you, and if I think about authors that I read kind of in real life, like published novels and stuff, like I think I said to you the other day, Melly, that Michael Crichton is a person.
I'm glad you brought that up because I totally forgot about that.
he wrote Jurassic Park and things like that, and I kind of would put him into the kind of more almost scientific writing and very, like you said, almost like a report type thing. Really good books, but kind of a bit different to say my favourite author. I mean, he's one of my favourites anyway, but my favourite author is Diana Gabaldon, and she has a lot of description and almost poetic and stuff with some of her writing, and yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, I mean, I don't want to say that everyone falls in just those two categories or the mixture. Like, everyone has their own distinct writing style, and that's okay, and that's good. That's what makes everyone different. That's what draws a lot of people in, because not one author is the same. And I mean, there is so many different authors out there, and if you can create something, to me, that's amazing. You know, you can actually just go ahead and do it. But since we've already established the writing types, I think what we should do here, we'll go back and forth as far as it, but I want to stick to the do's and don'ts. What I'll do is I'll bring it up, and then we can just discuss each one in detail.
Yeah.
Because I don't really want to. I want to focus on each of these do's and don'ts for the newbies. I'm moving on, by the way. Hopefully that's okay. But a lot of writers, when they're first starting out, they're just trying to figure out themselves. I mean, obviously, it's that first initial reaction, like, oh my god, I'm gonna post something, and I hope people actually like it. Like, how are people gonna react to my first chapter? Especially, like, you know, the apprehension you start feeling when you post that, and you're like, oh god, it's done, it's already out there.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my god, I got one viewer. Oh my god, I got two. You know, and you're freaking out, and especially since if you haven't done it ever, it's like the worst feeling ever, because you want to make sure people like it, and of course, you know, you never know what you're gonna get when it comes to people viewing it, because there's some people who are just absolutely awful out there, and there's other people who are actually there to help you, and they absolutely love your stuff.
Did anybody, when you first started, when you first posted your very first chapter ever, when you got your first review in your inbox, were you just scared crapless? Because I was.
Yeah. I'm trying to think back that far, because, you know, that was like 08 or something. But I think so. I mean, I obviously have put really bad habits in place, and my husband knows if I post a chapter, I'm like stuck on my phone for the next day, because I'm constantly hitting the email and seeing if I've got any new reviews. And like fanfiction has been really slow with their email notifications in the last week, and so I keep going to my actual stories and clicking on them and refreshing the page to do as well, because the notifications are coming through slow, and I'm like, I just want to see.
Yeah. So one time, I'm not even kidding, I was in a movie with my husband, and we went out. It was like a date night type thing, and I went out. We were in the movies, waiting for the movie to start, and I had just posted that night the chapter. So here I am, like, checking my phone, and I got a review from one of my favorite reviewers, and I was like, hold on, don't talk to me. I gotta read this.
Yeah.
And I was sitting there like, you know, watching. He's sitting there looking at me like, really? You can't wait? No, I cannot wait. This got to happen right now. Like, I gotta.
I know.
You know.
Yeah.
Like, I have to, you know, because it's really exciting. It's like Christmas sometimes. Like, seriously, in your inbox when you start getting the reviews, it really is like Christmas. That is like, it feeds your muse. Like, no joke. When people positively react to your stories, it's a fantastic feeling.
Yeah. It's I feel exactly the same. But at the same time, there's always, for me, I think if I haven't posted in a while, there's a level of apprehension as well. Like, I found myself last week when I posted, and you know, it's been probably 6 months or something since I uploaded something, and I was really antsy for the rest of the night, you know, and I didn't sleep well. I woke up at 6 a.m. and checked my emails. It's like ridiculous, but it's, you know, I think when you write something, it's important to you, and, you know, so you do get antsy about it and stuff, and so I think it's completely normal for people when they start out to be absolutely terrified if they're posting something, and you know,
definitely.
I'm sorry, I totally derailed, so I do apologize. I derailed the whole topic.
Oh,
sorry.
No, it's fine.
But
I want, though. We need to discuss things. We need to draw it out and let people know that it is normal. Some of the reactions you get. I mean, hello. Yeah. You're putting your baby out there for people to view, and it's like, it's kind of scary sometimes. because one comment can really, really affect someone. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I mean,
And
hey,
we get it.
yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, that was one of the questions, from Anna, was it? About what do you do if you've got a...
Oh, yeah, well, I'm going to actually...
comment?
Yeah, that actually will be for another topic on the do's and don'ts. I will discuss that later on.
Okay, cool.
I have, but that will be covered, don't worry. Okay, so the first one on the do's and don'ts, I have dominating dialogue. Obviously, we know what that means when new writers will tend to write a script. Instead of like painting a picture for us, they'll write a bunch of sentences where they're talking, and that's it. There's nothing else going on except for a conversation, and then it's very short, to the point. I mean, yes, you get an idea somewhat of what's going on because they're verbally, they're conversing with each other, but you need to. I honestly, you need to have some, like you said, meat and potatoes.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
I think you need to give the reader like a 3D picture. So what do these people look like? What are they doing with their body language while they're talking? What are they thinking? You can add that in as well. There's lots of different layers that you can add in. And it depends, but I think...
People love to know what they're thinking, especially Vegeta. What is he thinking right now? I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah.
I know, with the whole dominating dialogue and all that, that's like with the description. I know personally, for me, description is hard because I find myself, writing a lot of dialogue and a lot of, I guess, description in the dialogue. But, Mally, she's like, come on, Megan, I need to know details. Give me the details. So, and I think I've gotten better throughout the years, like writing it out. I usually write out what I'm thinking, and then I go back in and meat and potatoes. I think Mally, okay, what would, Mally, she's telling me more details, so then that's when I write it. I don't know, I guess it depends on what your writing style is and how you do it, but...
Yeah.
I mean, definitely.
And it's overwhelming, though. I mean, I'm not even kidding. Like, if you're sitting there thinking, like, in my mind, it's playing out like a scene, and I'm just typing. So if you're seeing it happening in your brain, it's like you're overloading yourself. You're trying to write in when you're talking, but you're also trying to, like, you see them talking, and you have to describe what you're seeing. Like, okay, she flips her hair over her ear, and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
I mean, not exactly blah, 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 but...
Yeah.
I mean,
every author probably feels this at some point, that you see a scene in your head and it is perfect, and then when you go to put it onto the page, it just does not translate.
Come out how it is in your mind. Oh my God, I've been there so many times. It is awful. Oh my God, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you have that too, Megan? Like, seriously,
like,
dude, this is gonna be bomb. They're gonna be like, what? Really? That just happened? And then it starts going out. Like, oh God, no.
Yep.
No.
Yeah.
This
Happens to the best of us.
Awful. It's so bad. It's like a car crash. It's like, oh God.
Oh no, that happens all the time.
Yeah.
To me,
it does.
but yeah. Yeah.
But yeah. Okay. So moving on, shall we? Oh my God, this is my biggest fear.
Yeah.
Oh God. Okay. Oops, let me put in my earbud.
Oh, we got our first comment. So it's about the dialogue. So I'm gonna select it.
Okay. Well, we'll stop there. Just kidding. I'm gonna hold off on my biggest pet peeve, which is another thing. Okay. We'll go on to this. Okay. Go right ahead, Megan.
This is from Sylvia. And she said, on dialogue, it's important to have characters talk to each other, but everything they say should be moving the plot forward, or you will lose the reader, whatever your plot is. LOL. So
that's very, very true. I agree.
Yeah, it's true. It can't be dead-end dialogue.
I mean, I think it's nice to keep things realistic as well, and I think not in terms of just dialogue, but little scenes. I don't mind sticking little daily things in, but you can't be stalling and telling, you know, so-and-so woke up out of bed and he put on his, you know, clothes and then he did this and that and
then she
not
combed her hair and
plot
curled
forward.
each piece of hair.
Yeah, yeah.
No.
So, yeah, and I definitely agree that you know, everything that you put in your story, you are wanting to move your plot forward. And it's hard sometimes. You can get, you know, you can stall and things like that. And I think try not to stick meaningless scenes in. And maybe that's something, I don't know whether we could discuss it, I think, later in terms of when we talk about the size of stories and different styles and things like that.
Another little...
Yeah.
Another point.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Because once you get to shorter stories, you start being really selective if you're writing, you know, like Drabbles or something, on what you put in, because you can only put the bare bones and what's most necessary.
We're going to hold off on Drabbles. Don't talk about Drabbles yet. Because I have that in that point. Sorry, there's just so much in this. I just don't want to get to it too quickly. Here I am, I'm like, no, don't you dare talk about that. Not allowed to point what they get.
No, that's absolutely fine. Okay.
No, but I mean, like, I actually had someone tell me one time, because I remember when I first started writing, I was revamping Vampire Prince, and, no, maybe it wasn't that. I don't know. It was one of the stories, one of my earlier stories. I think it was actually The Other Woman, maybe, or I'll remember, whatever. Anyway, I was describing her dress type, you know, like what she was wearing, blah, 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 blah. And I remember one of my reviewers told me, like, oh, God, please don't tell me that you're going to go over every single outfit she decides to put on every single day. Like, please don't do that. This is such a good story. You should not be putting, like, this stuff in there. Like, no, don't do that. Don't do that. You know, you're just going to ruin it. And I took it to, that right there, constructive criticism. She told me that she loved my story. It was fantastic. But she went on to tell me, please don't do this because you're going to have negative reactions to this. And I took it, and I was like, you know what, that's a very good point. I probably shouldn't. And you know what? It actually is a lot better not putting all that crap in there. I mean, there's a time and place for everything. Sometimes you do have to describe some, like, what they're wearing and stuff like that, depending on, like, especially when you have, like, time periods and stuff like that. Some people may not know what certain things are, what they wear. It's kind of interesting sometimes to read about that. But yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. Because I think if you're introducing, like, a new character, especially if it's some sort of OC, I mean, you need to tell them what they look like. And that's one of my things that I have noticed with fan fiction, I do it myself, is because we know what these main characters look like. I think a lot of authors have a tendency to be almost a little bit lazy. It's just, if you were publishing, like, a regular book with completely, you know, your own characters, you wouldn't be able to get away with just saying, boom, Vegeta does this, without actually describing what he looks like. And it's, you know, I think we often skim that over because everyone knows what he looks like anyway, but I try and make a conscious effort these days to include that in my story somehow, not in a boring way, but just, you know, like, Bulma might be examining how handsome he is or something like that. You know, I mean, just because I want to keep to the habit.
Jaw.
Yeah, you know, and it's one of those things, too, where, like, you may have a different view on how Vegeta looks like. You know, he may be taller in your story. He may, his hair might be brown instead of black. I don't know. You know, Bulma's hair dues or
his terrible like Widow's Peak is non-existent, really.
Yeah, you know, so I agree with you. And you know, there's a couple of fics that I've written where it's like, man, I didn't really, you know, describe him or her whatsoever. I just, you know, told Vegeta. You know, so that's a good point.
It's okay to start off that way. You don't have to, like, obviously as the story progresses, you don't have to go into as much detail over their physical appearance unless it's necessary, because at the very beginning, you let the readers in on, like, the basics pretty much. You gotta get them a feel for what these characters look like, you know. I mean, it really does, like, I mean, when the author does give you details of their physical appearance, it does pop up in your mind, and then it's instilled in your brain, and you're seeing this person like that. And of course, not everyone's going to see it the way that the author sees it. But
I
it's
mean,
still fun.
yeah.
Yeah.
And you can drip feed it. Like, it doesn't have to be like one paragraph right at the beginning of your story describing what they look like. You can kind of drip feed it in throughout your story,
Yeah.
and
Mm-hmm.
I think that works well.
Can I ask,
Yeah.
like, I don't know if this question's going to derail us again, but I forget, especially when I'm doing fics that, like, if I'm doing, like, an alternative universe or whatever, I will totally forget to include his tail. Like,
Really?
totally
Yeah.
forget about it, and then I get all pissed off because the tail's my most favorite part about him. He has a tail.
I know. See, because you know, like I love those tales, so I tend to mention it.
You know, that
Pretty
tail is like
quickly,
a
but-
stinky object to us poor fangirls.
Yeah.
I know.
I'm kidding. It's so bad to think of. But, you know, like any normal person wouldn't be like, ooh, a tail on my is like so sexy. It's like if in real life a man had a tail, he walked in and started trying to tickle your leg with it, I'd be like, what the freaking hell are you? Like there would be like no like connection with me and like a Saiyan man. I'd just be like, wow. I don't even know what to say.
One of my friends went along to like a coffee group for uni, you know, with people. I don't know, it was some sort of study group or something, but she turned up and there was a guy wearing a tail, just randomly.
Oh my god.
Yeah. I've seen him around.
Let me guess. You're a Dragon Ball Z fan.
Was he a furry?
Yeah, I think so. I think it was kind of like
Yeah.
a Dragon Ball Z type. Yeah. She was just like, there was a guy with a tail there. Okay.
And that was just not normal.
Oh my god.
Not normal behavior.
Alright, now guys, I am going to be the Nazi here, and I'm going to
Okay.
pull us back into the topic.
That's your job. What am I going to do without you? My new partner's going to have to be the Nazi because I'm just going to go off into left field all the time.
I'm like, oh, flowers and rainbows and unicorns, oh my.
Yep.
They're like,
Gonna be
no.
it.
No, you know what? I'm going to be in the question and answer. being like,
I
Megan,
was about to say, you're going to be on the question. Stop it!
Megan, I'm not going to tell you again. God damn it, nobody cares.
Get back to the subject.
Okay, so the next sense, what the hell am I talking about? I have had too much coffee. I've already had 3 cups, so this is going on. Okay, so I have, the next one is exclamation XX. So, obviously that I've always spoke about. I cannot stand it when authors resort, like newbies sometimes I see this. Some are seasoned authors, not necessarily just newbies. I cannot stand when they resort to 20 exclamation points in order to get across that a character is upset or happy or whatever. You don't need to explain, you don't need to write 20 exclamation points to get that across. Use other things like describe what they're doing with their hands. See how I am flailing my hands around like a woman. And facial features. Yeah, facial features.
Yeah.
The way that their tone is. Like Vegeta uses a gruff tone. I mean, you could say gruff tone. Blah, blah, blah.
He could be growling or snarling or sneering or something like that.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, he's got
You
that
could even say
vein.
she shouted at him. I mean, you don't have to say exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you for
And
that.
I mean, I think definitely, if you need to use an exclamation point, one is suffice. You know, like one's sufficient for that.
Exactly.
You
But
know,
don't put them in like every single sentence, because then that just gets, like I said, it's just very crazy and annoying in a way.
Yeah. Very occasionally, I do something that I know is not grammatically correct, but I'll put like a question mark, and then an exclamation mark if it's like a kind of yelly question. But yeah,
but if you don't do that often,
it.
like I'm not gonna say that exclamation points are absolutely terrible. Like they aren't bad. You can use them limited amounts. Like do not overuse a lot of question marks, exclamation points. It's just that
Yeah.
it just, yeah, it gets really annoying. And I mean, like, there is a time and place for everything. Just make sure that it sounds right. Use your imagination instead of the grammar, like, you know, the punctuation. You know, you need to use like what's going to appeal to these readers is your ability to, like I said, paint a picture for them.
Yeah.
Definitely. Because having 3 exclamation points in a row, I mean, that's something I do all the time when I'm posting on the community and forums and stuff.
Well,
But
that's
kind of
different.
that's that language. It's not really story language.
Exactly.
And same with capitalization, I think, because sometimes I come across stories where people will, you know, they'll have a whole sentence where someone's yelling, so they stick it all in capitals. And I think I will only ever do that for 1 or 2 words or something if it's like an absolute scream. Like, I think I've done it before with, like, a 5-year-old buller, like, going, Mom! Or something, you know, where it's like someone's about to kill her. It's a little bit, you know, I think you need to pick and choose with using that as well.
Yeah, and
I think it all just comes back to description.
I hate saying that, like, it's terrible. Like, I know exclamation points, obviously, it is punctuation. Like, it's okay to use, but, like, I'm not saying that you can't use it at all. But, you know, just, like, because I know that everyone's like, oh, well, I've used it too, but just be very cautious sometimes, that's all.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next one, precipitate posting. Do not rush posting a chapter. And what I mean by this is a lot of people that I've noticed, I was one of them at the very beginning when I first started, and this was when I was like 15 years old. I would write really tiny chapters, not look over them, and just post them because I just wanted to get it out. I didn't want to have to I don't want to reread it. I didn't care. But ultimately, I was getting negative feedback saying, like, you really need to go back and check your sentences. You really need to go back and check your grammar and all that stuff, you know? And ultimately, yeah, I really didn't read anything. You know, I didn't go over it. I didn't really care other than the fact that I was like, oh, I can't wait to post another chapter. Well, you want quality chapters, you know? And if for whatever reason you're not the kind of person to, like, who likes to read their chapters over, then get a beta reader. I'm sure they would love to help you figure out your mistakes. They will fix them for you, and then you can go ahead and post that. A lot of people have gotten betas. There's nothing wrong with getting a beta. They actually are very, very helpful. Yeah, they're very helpful. They are a very useful tool if that's the case. So what do you guys think about, like, you know, the short chapters that aren't read? Like, have you guys ever read something that, like, just like, oh my god, this person definitely didn't reread this?
Yeah, I think, I mean, I can't think of examples, but I just am thinking, you know, it's good to let something sit, even if it's just for a few hours, and then come back to it and read it over with a fresh mind. So that you can pick up mistakes, because I mean, it's just simple rules of editing. And I mean, I used to mentor students at uni when I was studying and stuff, and that was something that I would tell them, you know, with their essays that they'd bring to me and stuff. It's like, first rule, editing, let it sit for a little while, come back to it, read it over, read it out loud, and you'll be able to pick up mistakes. Yeah, I mean, I don't really read out my stories out loud to myself, but I mean, I
read them out loud, but when I'm by myself, when my husband's
yeah, not when my husband's
I think people usually, you know, are in a hurry to post a chapter. It's not usually. Okay, let me rephrase. It's not just the new authors, but I think if you have a successful fiction and you're on fire and you're like, yes, this chapter is going to be awesome, and I got to hurry up because people are asking me when I'm going to update, and bam, uploaded. I mean, it only takes one chapter really to turn people off to reading your fiction.
Yeah. Sometimes it happens in the first chapter.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's why, you know, especially, you know, new authors or seasoned authors really, and I have to remind myself that too, because I know I have a lot of open-ended fix going on there, and I get emails daily, I get PMs and reviews daily. Hey, when are you going to review this? And I feel really guilty, and then I open up my laptop and go, I got to update this. But then I stop because I'm like, this it's going to be crap. It's going to be crap if I just rush through it, and I could bypass my beta, but I don't want to now because I don't want to put up crap. I want to put up good stuff. I want my readers to have that quality read.
Yeah,
and so
quality.
It's just
quality fan fictions.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. I know it's hard. It's hard knowing that you have, especially if it's done and you're ready to upload. Seriously, wait. Like Pick said, wait an hour. Wait till the next day. Just read over it. They'll read it when it comes up. I mean,
And it's easier said than done, because I've been there where I've spent all day writing an 8,000 word chapter, and all I actually want to do is post that SOB. Yeah. I just want to be done.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? You could ask Spring and by Summer Fall. She's my beta, and I send it to her, and I'll text her or I'll email her and go, did you get it? Are you done? Can you send it to me? Are you done yet? Are you done yet? And she just wants to freaking throttle me. But it's good. It's good that I wait, because even after she betas it, then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna read over this. I'm gonna be calm, and then I'm gonna upload it. So it just So
because I mean, 9 times out of 10, if I go back to something that I haven't yet posted and I'm in the editing stage, I will find stuff to fix,
Yeah.
So if I wait, it might just be a word or a tiny little sentence or something, but there'll be something that I can improve. So I think, especially for new authors, you owe it to yourself to do that, and I would suggest using a beta for new authors and things. And I mean for seasoned authors as well. I'm naughty, I don't use one. But I make sure that I give myself that space of time to look over things most of the time. Sometimes I'm bad. But
hey, you know what? I seriously envy people who could just write and then go. I know Maddie-san, that girl can write 4 chapters within 4 days and not really read over them, post them, and they're fantastic. And I'm like, I hate you, by the way.
We're all envious over here.
Yeah, how do you do that?
Damn it.
All right, so I'm going to move on to the next one, okay, guys?
Yeah,
that's fine.
Okay. All right. Okay, so the next topic for the do's and don'ts, we have, the puny posts. There is, this is where the drabbles come in.
I'm smiling because I write puny posts a lot.
Hey, but there's a time and place for everything, and that's where the drabbles come in. There is obviously, no matter what kind of a writer you are, if you're comfortable writing drabbles, that's fine. And usually, what I mean by drabbles, sometimes I do this a lot with the other fandom I write for, but they'll give you a prompt, like a word or a sentence or something that you have to use in your writing. And sometimes the challenges say only 100 words. Some of them only say 500, or some only 1,000, or more than 1,000. I mean, the drabbles are usually really small, and that is okay. But if you're going to write, you're trying to write a huge story with, like maybe said, with meat and potatoes, and you're trying to get a really good reaction, you're trying to use great characterization, you're trying to get a plot going and a long, drawn-out story, you're not going to get the right effect with 500-word chapters or 1,000-word chapters. You're going to need to put a little bit of work into it. I mean, unless, there's a reason behind it. I mean, if they're well-written, you have everything you wanted in it, I guess that's fine. Be very careful, if there isn't, okay, let's say you have one, because I've seen this quite a bit sometimes. I'll open up a story and it'll be a paragraph, and like something happens, but there's no end to it. There's no transition into something else. It's just kind of like it kind of baffles me, where I'm like, wait, what just happened?
Yeah.
It feels like it's not supposed to end yet. And then they move on to the next chapter, and then it has nothing to do with what happened in the previous chapter. I mean, yeah, it goes along the story a little bit, but you're still confused. Like, wait, why does this feel like half the chapter is cut off? You got to slow down. You really got to make sure that you develop each chapter. And sometimes if you're not a writer who, like, if you're just starting out, you need to be very careful writing chapters like that, because you need to be able to, like, develop it a little bit more. You can't just write something and then cut it off, and then, people are going to get confused.
Yeah, I'll play devil's advocate a little bit, because I've written stories that had, like, very short chapters, I think, with decoding the Saiyan.
Yours are travels.
Yeah, see, I mean, the thing is, if you're going to write, I kind of made it up.
Too.
I kind of made up this idea of writing drabble fics, but because normally a drabble is just a one shot that is really small, and I think the proper term of a drabble is supposed to be only 100 words.
Mm-hmm.
But then I used to do a lot of contests and stuff where they're like, oh, we'll take up to 500, and then I used to run, I'm so sorry, I was a crap mod on DBZ fanfics on DeviantArt, and that kind of just went down the toilet, but there I used to say a drabble was up to 600 words, and I think that's kind of the thing. But if you're going to write a story with short chapters, then kind of tell the readers first so that they've got a warning. I think that's only fair, but I think that the thing is, every chapter needs to have some sort of conclusion to it. So really, it doesn't matter what size you have in your chapter, it's got to have a beginning, middle, and end. So you can write, like, a good drabble will tie off the topic, and so I think you can do that in very short chapters and have a successful story that way. But you can't just have a random scene and no conclusion to it, and then move on to the next one and not have that right flow.
And sometimes, I mean, some of them end in like, oh my god, I want more. What's going to happen next? And that's totally fine. Those are the drabbles that I've seen. Because this fandom that I also read for, there's this one lady that literally has like 500 chapters, and they're 100-word drabbles.
Oh.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and she literally, she has 500 chapters, right? And they're all 100 words, and she has 10,000 reviews.
Holy crap!
I know. I literally peed my pants when I saw that. I was like, what?
That's
I'm
insane.
like, really? Well, there's some people who enjoy drabbles, but make sure when you're a new reader, you know exactly what you're getting into first, and make sure you let these people know, because drabbles can be, some people don't like drabbles.
Well, here's my question. I think it was about a year or two ago, I had to try to get a hold of the mods on fanfiction.net, and I was going through the rules, and I'm too lazy to pull it up on my laptop here, so I'll just do it later. But I could have sworn in the rules, they have rules for each kind of fanfiction. One-shot, drabbles, blah, blah, blah. And I could have sworn, now don't quote me, but I could have sworn that I saw that drabbles have to be a minimum of some number. Like, it can't be more than, like, 300 words or something like that. I don't know if that's...
I think they've got a 100-word limit as in minimum.
Because that's like the natural for a lot of the ones that I've seen, like the really, really intense challenges are usually like 100 words, and that's even pushing it for me because I am very descriptive and I hate that.
Well, here's my question: why would they even have rules for? I can understand like how they don't want things clogging up, like a three sentence fic. Which is totally like, what's the use, I can understand that, but I don't get why they have, like, rules for travels and stuff like that. I just don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, I think
I
they've
don't
got
really
that.
think they should
I'm
dictate
pretty
that.
sure they've got that 100-word limit, or because I think there's. Can't remember. I just remember almost something saying no non-stories, and I guess what they're meaning is like we don't want meaningless stuff
I mean,
on
obviously,
here.
I understand like the word limit, like making sure you at least have this many
Yeah,
words in
I guess that
your
makes sense.
chapter, but I don't think that they should have specific rules for travels because each group, each challenge is different.
Yeah.
So,
Nancy has a comment. I'm gonna read it here. This is from Nancy D. If anybody knows her from fanfiction. Hello, Nancy. She says they have so many reviews because most people have a hard time reading 10,000-word chapters. I do feel the younger reader has a shorter attention span, and thus the shorter Drabble chapters give them more bang for the buck. I agree. I agree with that. I do. I agree with that.
It's probably maybe even a bit more accessible sometimes, shorter chapters too.
it's annoying is what it is. I have this one lady.
Kinds of stories.
Well, there's this one lady. She was like, okay, on this place that I post my other stuff. She's like, I just want to shout out to all these people who have like 100-word, 500 chapter travel fics. Can you like condense them? I really don't want to click through 500 chapters of 100 words. And it was
That's
so
hilarious.
funny because a lot of people were just like going crazy, like, no, I will not do that. I will get to 500 chapters. And I'm like, whoa.
Holy crap.
That's funny.
Like,
but I mean,
people
I will say, like, writing Drabbles can be really fun because it is so challenging to
Challenges are fun.
looking
Like,
at
Drabble
your
Nights.
word count.
I love Drabble Nights. I love it when you get like, because the place that I go and I do Drabble Nights, you have like 10 prompts and you have 30 minutes to complete 100 words for that prompt. And usually what I do is through the whole entire 10 prompts, I create like a little mini story with using all 10 words. So like I get really excited about it. Like it's so fun. Like I love that. That's what I like. That's cool. Okay, so
It sounds really fun. I've never taken part in something as immediate as that. But I do love doing Drabble challenges and stuff. Like, I mean, I have...
host something here then.
I'll
have to host something like that, like a hangout thing where I can come up with like a Drabble night or something like that, where I can come up with a theme, and then I can post it, and you guys could just like write, and then you have 30 minutes for prompt.
That's a good
That would
idea.
be really cool. I think it'd be hard with time zones. I'm thinking, how am I gonna get in?
Well,
like
I'll make sure I do one like during a time that you're available.
Yeah, that's cool.
You know what we need to do? We need to get like a spreadsheet. If anybody wants to tell us like what country they live in and what time zone, because that's one thing that I don't know, that kind of is like the main thing that causes issues here.
Yeah, I don't even know. Like, it's not like there's names for time zones. It's like, I don't know. I think I'm like plus 12 Greenwich time. I'm the opposite of England, basically, or 12 hours ahead. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Now we're gonna move on to this thing that we were talking about.
Negative feedback.
Where Anna. Okay, this is negative feedback. Anna M. She asked how much should she let negative comments get to her? Because apparently in the thing she had in her little comment, she posted to us. That she had just started writing fan fiction, and someone had posted a negative comment towards her fan fiction, and honestly, it had kind of put a damper on her views because of the fact that she received it, and now she kind of hasn't been stimulated enough to be able to write more. So, I mean, yes, it really does. Negative comments do have a terrible effect on people sometimes, especially depending on where they're at in their life at the moment. So, the thing is that no matter how many times you can sit there and tell yourself, yes, you know what, they don't matter, you still get affected on some level. And it's okay. It happens. We're only human.
I don't know. I think someone posted it. Maybe it was you, Pick. But there was this, it was a cartoon of a guy, and he's getting all these wonderful compliments. Oh, you're a good guy. Oh, you're so smart. Oh, thank you so much. And there's just one comment that says, you're a real jerk. And then the next frame, it shows him, his smile isn't as big as the other one. There's less, like, the good comments are kind of fading out, and the you're a real jerk comment is, like, getting bolder. And then the next frame is just him, like, sitting down, like, all depressed because that you're a real jerk comment, it pretty much overshadows all the good compliments and reviews you get. And it's true. And, it's hard to get over it. And, as you get more seasoned in, whatever you do, fan fiction or whatever, you get used to it. You're bound to get some sort of negative feedback, and that's fine. That's their opinion. Wonderful, good for you. I'm glad that you voiced your opinion. It's hard not to like reply to them and go, F you, dude, whatever. But that's not the adult
make
thing
yourself
to do.
Look like a jackass. But sometimes,
I mean,
it's hard.
I remember. Sorry.
Go ahead, honey. Sorry.
I remember that picture. I didn't post it, but that's a very good way, an example of what it feels like and stuff. And everyone gets upset by negative reviews. But what I was saying to these ladies before we went live is that if I get one that makes me really mad, I'll open up a new Word document and I will type out my really angry response, and then I delete it. So no one sees it, but I get it out of my system, and then that's fine. And then I just leave it, and it doesn't matter because, but I mean, because it's not. I don't think it's a good idea to kind of. I mean, especially if it's a flame, don't feed the troll.
Yeah. That never, ever, ever. They think
it will not go well.
It won't. It won't go well.
They're expecting it. If they're signed in and they're pointing the shit out of you, they are waiting for your response, and they're smiling.
Yeah, they are. And you know what, though? When it comes to the whole constructive criticism, that also does sting. It stings, but it depends. Okay, so there's, to me, with constructive criticism, there's the constructive criticism that, you brought up a good point. Thank you so much. I understand. Thank you for pointing that out. And then there's the other constructive criticism that's nitpicky and crap, and you're like, what the F?
You know that you spelt this word wrong?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I could have gone my entire life without knowing that. All you had to do was just ignore it. You knew exactly what I was saying, so stop pretending like you didn't.
Yeah. I don't know.
I think I don't have a problem so much if people point out typos, because a typo is a typo, and I think if that's your criticism and stuff, definitely there's a way to there's a way to say it. Pardon?
Did you say you don't mind?
Yeah, well, I don't mind if someone reviews me and says, "Oh, this, blah blah blah, nice comments," and then by the way,
just so that everyone knows, don't do it to me, because I'll be very PO'd.
Well, the one thing that I do mind is when I get people telling me that I'm spelling things wrong, and I'm not spelling them wrong. I'm spelling them in New Zealand English, which is, I try to be aware of the way that I'm writing in terms of I don't write like New Zealand slang in my stories, because I used to, in my first story I called, it was a Pan Trunk story, but Pan called Chi Chi Nana, which is, it's grandma, but people messaging me and they're like, what the hell does Nana mean? And I guess, have you guys heard of that before?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, some people obviously haven't, and it was just like, oh yeah. So I try and keep it very much in that way. But I mean, I'm gonna have extra L's and extra U's in my writing compared to American English, and I don't care. Like, so don't tell me that I'm spelling that wrong, because that annoys me.
I don't think I mean, to me, me personally, it doesn't really bother me. I just finished up a really awesome Joker original character fiction, and she was clearly from England, somewhere in England, and I mean, she, it was definitely, I could hear it throughout this whole story. It didn't annoy me, but in the reviews, it annoyed a lot of people, and it's like, hey, not everybody in America is writing, freaking fan fiction. Everybody around the world is, so, seriously,
well,
just
speaking
calm
of
down.
fan fiction, like, from, like, other countries, okay, is it freaking weird? I know this is totally random, and this is the only time I'm going to do this, I swear to God, but when you guys, like, read your, okay, sometimes when I'm reading out loud to make sure it sounds right, I don't know why, but my character starts having a British accent, and I don't know why.
Well,
I'm like, why am I speaking with a British accent?
That's funny. That's funny. I think.
Oh my God! I'm like, what the hell? Why is it doing this in my mind? And then I start like, oh my God, it's terrible. Like, that's why I'm like, never again am I reading this shit out loud. And I told this to Maddie's son, and Maddie's like, it's okay, it's just because you have a bunch of characters in your mind, and I'm like, that's not reassuring.
Like Chris Sabat's Vegeta voice, there's a tinge of kind of a slight British.
He has a brogue. He has some sort of brogue going on, which I think we mentioned this in a couple podcasts ago, but I usually try to make it so he has some sort of like brogue, almost kind of like English or Scottish or I don't know, something like that. But
can anyone imitate a Scottish accent? That is hard.
Can't.
I'm not going to.
I can do a British.
I'm not going to do it. I can do that too. I can sound like I'm from Southern California, and that's just
go right ahead, please. Can you please talk like the next one?
I already do it. I call everybody dude. I say hella. I mean, come on.
Oh yeah, that's true. I know, but I'm thinking about like a different, like when you go down south and they're sitting there with that southern twang in their voice.
I get a little of that too.
But that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway. Sorry, that was
we totally digressed there.
And that was my fault this time. Okay, so the next one is bombarding and bold. I cannot stand it when authors use big, capital, bolded letters when they're trying to scream. Their characters are screaming. Like this should coincide with exclamation
thing. Yeah.
I mean, there's different ways. It seems annoying and it's obnoxious and people don't care. It's awful.
Yeah. It's obnoxious. It's distracting to the eye. Because if you're reading it, your eye keeps on going back to the bold.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, and I think there's lots of things like that, and it's taken me time to kind of figure out what I want to do. But even with scene breaks, you'll see some people in their stories they'll literally say scene break or something, and I feel like that is a bit too.
Wait, have you seen that?
Yes. I see it a lot. I've seen it,
and in fact, like, I'm not gonna say, don't. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
I won't say what stories or anything like that, but it'll be amazing fiction and stuff. And so most of the time, I'll just, there's always going to be little nitpicky things that as you're reading, and it's the same with any published book. You think, why'd they do that? But I think try and keep things. My advice to anyone is trying to keep things kind of as simple as possible, so that you're not kind of jarring people. And so I used to see these people who would do like really elaborate patterns, like full stop and a slash and then a smiley, and like as their scene breaks and stuff, or like lots of little hearts or something, and it's like that's not necessary. Like.
Oh, okay. So you're talking about like the scene breaks, like the little things that people put.
The little yeah.
Yeah, I thought you said people write scene break, and I'm like, shut up.
I've actually
some people do. Some people do.
Oh, okay. See, I put scene breaks in there, but I don't put it in as a word. I use little dot
I
dots.
use them.
Like,
Yeah.
and then, you know what I'm saying?
I normally,
Sometimes it's like annoying.
yeah.
If you don't know, it's like one jumps from one scene to the next, and you're like, wait, what's going on?
Because you obviously need to make it clear sometimes that a scene is ending, and because it's almost like a mini chapter sometimes that you have within your chapters.
Yeah.
And it happens sometimes, each scene, there's some, like, multiple scenes sometimes in one chapter. It may not be focusing on just the main characters. You may switch to sub-characters as well, so it's like,
Definitely, or just to show the passage of time or something like that. But you can keep it simple, like with a full stop or 3 dots or asterisks or something. But I think
I don't know. Because if I know with mine, if I don't put any scene break, like the line thing, I've confused a lot of people, because then I'll just go into like the next scene and it's just like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah. Well, see, I mean, because when I first started publishing on fanfiction.net, they didn't have the line thing there, or they had it or it was like a harder line, because now it's kind of, it tapers off at the end, and it's a little bit nicer on the eyes, and so I am totally out of the habit. I do not put those lines in my stories. I just do like a dot or 3 dots to show a scene break, but I think I make it kind of obvious, and I mean, feel free, anyone, to tell me if you think the lines are better or something, but I just think, there's more subtle ways. That line is still a good way, but I think, like, scene break, the words is not.
As long as it's not like heart, I don't know, this is just my opinion, but like what you said, as long as it's not like hearts or smiley face or, something like that, it's like, it doesn't belong there.
Yeah. But still, I overlook, like I said, there's always going to be something probably when you're reading anything, and it doesn't matter if it's a published story, as in like a novel or something that you pay for, or like fan fiction, that bugs you, and you just, if you love a story, and you just will keep reading anyway.
Yeah, that's true. That's so very true.
Okay, so I'm going to move on to the next one, guys. I'm sorry. Okay. Which is that we have quite a few left, and we've already, we're at a lot of time. Okay, the next one, I apologize again for interrupting you guys. The next one is annoying author's notes. I said, please, for the love of God, do not write what you ate, what you did last weekend, and thank 20 reviewers.
Yeah, that actually, let me tell you, okay, so
I want to reach to the screen and punch you in the face.
Well, when people, the main thing is when
I'm not a very violent person.
Reply to all of your reviews for the last chapter, you gotta be careful with that. First off,
it's against the rules.
It's against
the rules, and it is frustrating to read through all of those replies.
Nobody really cares except for that one reviewer. But you know what? It's okay. All you have to do is put thank you for all the reviews.
Yeah.
Simple. You just thanked everybody. You're welcome.
I definitely understand sometimes, and again, the most frustrating reviews that you'll ever receive are most likely to be from people who are not signed in. Mm-hmm. And you can see when people, have been tempted to reply to that publicly because, they've got no other option but to do something in an author's note. But I just think it's not worth it. And it is against the rules, and these days with so many of those groups out there who are just kind of after taking people's stories off, it's not worth it putting yourself at risk. I mean, personally, I kind of like to sometimes say, in my author's notes, not what I did last weekend or something like that, but just, if I've never updated quickly these days, but, a little bit of an explanation, but it's like a line or something.
That is okay. That kind of stuff. See, there's a time, place for everything, and that's what I keep on saying. That is okay. Yeah. That's understandable. If you're gone for 6 months and nobody's seen you, you're like, I'm sorry for the long absence. I've been busy in my life. That's fine. But, you know, some of these people who write like half of their chapter is an author's note, that's not okay.
Yeah.
I think that if you have a particular storyline, that it's like a different time period and people are not familiar with it but are interested in reading it, and you kind of give them a little bit of a background, that's fine. Usually that sticks to the first chapter. Do not repeat yourself 20 times throughout the whole entire story. One time will be fine. If they are not capable of reading that, then that's their fault. You put that in there for a reason, you know. Either that, or like if you're trying to warn people about dark content, strong language, sexual themes, that's fine. You're warning people. You're letting them know what's going on. That is totally fine. I think... What else did I write down here?
Well, I mean, I've gotten up on my soapbox before and kind of, for a Goku Chi-Chi story, I had a really long author's note once, but I kind of felt it was necessary because I was explaining why in my view, I don't think Goku's so much stupid as he is naive, and I kind of went on a bit of a rant about that. And I think, you know, sometimes if you need that for your particular story so that people can understand how you do things, that's fine.
That's like, you know, there's some people, though, like a lot of the newer writers I've noticed like to thank every single reviewer, and I have done that. When I first started fan fiction, I did that. So, I mean, it happens. People do things like that, but like looking back on it, it just takes up a lot of space. It's really annoying, and like it's not necessarily. I mean, you could easily scroll down and get to the bulk of the story, but if you have other stuff mixed in with those reviews, chances are people are going to disregard it altogether, and you're not going to be able to get your point across if there is anything important in there. So just be very careful with what you put in your author's note. If you feel that it's necessary for the story, yes, that's fine. You go right ahead and put it in there. I mean, technically it's your story. You can do whatever the heck you want with it. But from what I remember, like, it's really annoying. A lot of people probably think that, but I mean, some people may not be bothered, but whatever.
Yeah, one question that I kind of had was, as having an author's note at the end of a chapter, like I was talking about the scene breaks and stuff, is that jarring? Say you've had like a really good chapter and it kind of, you know, something dramatic has happened. If you then go and have an author's note after that, are you ruining the vibe for the reader? Sometimes I wonder that, because just recently there's some chapters that I'll post and it's like I'm torn between, do I add an extra explanation? Do the readers need this extra explanation, or are they going to appreciate it, or is it actually just going to bug them? And that's something that I still wonder about sometimes, especially because
I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess it just depends, really. I mean,
wait, I'm trying to think. Did someone tell me? I swear I heard this from someone, that they got mad. Someone got mad because, was it you, Pick?
Yeah, it was me. It was last week I was telling you about.
Yeah, please fill them in on this story.
Yeah.
Listen to this, Megan. Like, you're gonna shit your pants.
This is one of my like newbie mistakes. So when I was first publishing my first story, I had written probably 10 chapters already, and because it was my first story and I wasn't very good at keeping track of things, I made myself a timeline, and I was like, hey, you know, and because a lot of time had passed between the prologue, it was about 20 years, and the actual story, and I thought, okay, I've made this timeline, I might just share it at the end of this chapter with my readers because they might find it useful too. And so I stuck the whole timeline there, and I was like, you guys might find this handy, you know, this is the timeline. And then I got this really annoyed review from someone saying, we're not stupid, your readers can figure this out by themselves, we don't need a timeline, it demeans your fic and all of this stuff like that. And I was gutted, you know, I was upset about that.
I know, when she told me that, I just kind of stopped and stared at her. I was like, are you kidding me? Like, who are they to tell you?
Yeah, that person obviously was having a damn bad day. And,
no kidding. Like, you shit in their Wheaties. Like,
yeah, but
I mean, in a way, I kind of agree with them now, because I like the idea of, I mean, the way I write stories is I write them to a level that I would expect readers to be able to follow. But then at the same time, sometimes I think an extra explanation can help, especially if you've got maybe a younger reader or someone who English is their second language or something like that. So I don't know. So sometimes I get torn, and also I get torn. Sorry, I'm just like going on a rant here, but I get torn with if I write really evil scenes about Vegeta, or he does something that I really don't agree with. Sometimes I'm so tempted to write an author's note and just say, look, ladies, this is not how a man should be treating you, or, you know, like, this is not an ideal man, even though I'm, you know, it's hard sometimes because he's a...
I think that if you feel that you need to do it, do it. I think what we're just saying is that, you know, just don't be going, hey guys, this is what I did last weekend. I had a barbecue, and then I was wet, and I suntanned for a while, and then I went to the bar. This is what I had at the bar. No, I think that if you feel that you need to explain things like that, I think that's fine. And really, and with like your little timeline thing, I would have still posted it.
Yeah. Because that's sometimes... Maybe that person didn't feel like it, you needed it, but you know what? There could have been another person like, oh my God, thank you for posting this.
Yeah.
You know, so ask them. If they don't want to read it, they don't have to.
Yeah.
I'm going to be the podcast Nazi here for a second. So we're a little over an hour. So Mally, if you want to pick maybe a handful more of the topics that we have. Okay. All right. Just, you know.
Okay. Well, then I'll move on really quick, okay? So, pretty much when you're, this is going to be probably the last one, characterization stuff, like building your character, building your background, I find it very, very, very important to write things down. At the very beginning, like, it's very hard to lose yourself in your story. It's very hard to, pretty much... If you have a bunch of characters in your stories and you're not really quite, I mean, you have an idea of how your story is going to go, how it's maybe going to end, you need to write it down, because chances are you're probably not going to remember what you remember laying in bed at night the next morning. It may just slip your mind and you'll never remember it again, and maybe you'll remember it, but, you know, chances are you may not get to it again. So just write it down. Any chance you get. I remember one time it was like literally like 1 o'clock in the morning. I laid down and my brain started going crazy, and I wrote something. I literally had to get up and I wrote it down. I made a point to write it down. So writing stuff down is very helpful. Also, you need to make sure that you have a distinct personality. Make sure that you have you need to, like, if you're using characters that are from a particular anime or whatever, a lot of people tend to keep them in character. There are the bold people who do take them OC depending on the storyline, because, you know, depending on their life situations, things change people's personalities, and that's realistic, but you've got to also take into account that if you do post an out-of-character Vegeta, you most likely will get a review or two about it. But you know what? Don't let them get to you. If you explained it in an author's note, which I have done that before, there is another good reason. This may be a little OC, so if you, just because of blah, 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 then if they choose to disregard what you wrote in your author's note, then that's too bad for them. They need to make sure that, you know, I mean, everyone needs to keep an open mind when they're reading, and not everyone's going to do that. But then there's also the first and third person that I've seen. I haven't really read very many first persons, which is like, you know, I or we, you know, the person is, you're speaking from the character's point of view, and the third person is like, you know, you're going from an outsider's perspective and talking, you know, you're describing what these people are doing. And all of my stories are in third person, so it's just kind of like, you know, I mean, it's super, you just need to really be able to understand your characters. Don't make them go from one extreme to another. That's another thing that I find very difficult sometimes. Like, you know, there'll be like this, like sometimes you'll see in like crazy fan fiction where Vegeta is just like this crazy, psychotic weirdo, and then the next second he's like petting her and like all fluffy, and you're like, where the hell did this come from? You know?
You need to be consistent in it, like, because there's I mean, there's different takes on Vegeta. I think they're all around the same theme, but he can either be a bit darker or a little bit lighter, depending on whether it's canon and say it's post Boo versus pre 3 years. He's
Or
he's
if
going to
you're
be
in an
different and stuff.
AU and he's never once seen Frieza in his life and he's a normal human man.
Yeah.
Maybe with a stick up his butt, but still.
Yeah. And
he
and
wasn't
there's-
tortured, his family wasn't annihilated, his planet wasn't blown up. Yeah. There is differences in characters when things don't happen to them.
Sylvia
Definitely.
has a comment. I'm gonna read it right now.
Mhm.
She says, a tip on saving thoughts if you can't write, if you have a smartphone, download an app to record voice memos. I know a couple people that do that actually, which is pretty
really
smart.
good.
Yeah. I've done that before. I've been walking on the beach by myself, and thankfully our beaches, my local beach isn't always that busy, and I've had an idea, and then I've been like, Saiyans do this, like speaking into my phone. I feel like such a dick doing that.
It's kind of like those movies where people will like record their voice, like note to self, don't blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
And then put it back in your pocket like a creep. Like you're just like that.
Yeah.
That's funny. That's really funny.
I've done that.
Like, why are they doing that?
But sometimes I'll just use my my memo app on my phone. That's what I use if I need to get something down quick. I've even written, like a whole in one of my like more drabble-ish stories, like an entire chapter on my phone while I've been on a bus or something. I mean, so it's definitely handy. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Also, now I'm going to switch. This is going to be the last thing, but I really wanted to get the summary thing down because that's really kind of a repeated question, what you expect in summaries. Anna actually asked, what should a summary contain? I've seen them pretty much. I mean, obviously, a summary needs to be a very brief description of what is in store for the story. You don't want to give away the ending or anything like that, but something kind of vague where you're like really like excited. You want to excite the reader. You want to get them to be like, oh, I got to click on that and see what's going on in the story. You know what I'm saying? I have a few examples, but first I want to see what these questions are before I continue because they pop up and then I get distracted and I'm like, ooh. Okay, so let me.
Are you going to select them? I'll let you do it.
No, I just want to make sure because she said it's off topic.
Oh,
I don't think it is off topic.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
Portia, it's a writer's workshop, to answer your question.
Okay, so... Okay. Well, I'll get to that. Susanna, I'll get to your question in a moment. I'm going to continue on with the summary. I'm sorry. Okay, so pretty much you just want to have like a brief, obviously here I am. I feel like I'm taking over this. I kind of feel like.
Well,
but I have some examples.
Yeah. What I just wanted to say about summaries, if I can kind of jump in, is this is where you've got to think about you are marketing your fan fiction. So, I mean, as horrible as that kind of almost sounds, at some point you've got to think of it as, you've got a product to sell, and saying things like, I suck at summaries, or I'm no good at summaries, please just read inside, isn't going to help at all.
No.
And it's just not tempting for anyone to click on those stories that say that, because I guess the argument would be, well, if you can't write 50 words, how are you going to do with writing a chapter?
Exactly. I just suck at summaries.
Yeah.
Those ones I could just completely skip over.
Exactly. I don't have any desire to read something that doesn't have a summary.
Yeah. At the same time, summaries can be really, really short because sometimes something that is intriguing can attract a reader, It sparks curiosity. So it could just be a sentence that kind of leaves someone thinking, oh, I wanna click on that. Or you could have a more elaborate one kind of describing a little bit about what the story's about and stuff. And you can always add in those tags as well. I always add in Bulma/Vegeta AU Drabble Fic or something like that, you know, to kind of explain what the story's about in my summary as well. Or you can quote. Sometimes I'll quote you know, well, I haven't actually, but sometimes I see other people have quoted a good section of their story as a summary, and that works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever grabs the reader's attention. I mean, it doesn't have to be
Yeah.
anything like super, you know, complex. Just try to, you know, attract a reader. But
Yeah.
most definitely, just for the love of heaven, if you're one of those that does, I suck at summaries, or I don't know what to put.
Yeah.
Get going.
Okay, so I'm gonna give some examples if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have one from let's see here. Flaming Poetic.
Mhm.
We have The Mistaken Wish. Vegeta awakens from his death at Frieza's hand, resurrected by the Dragon Balls. With nowhere to go, he awaits Goku's return at Capsule Corp. Although only alive by accident, someone comes to value him. 3-year get-together. Vegeta's perspective, true to canon, rather dark. This story contains mature language and content. Very sweet, short, to the point, gets your attention.
Oh,
Explains what the theme is, you know, obviously what's going on in the story.
that reminds me, and it's something that we talked about last night or the night before, or whenever we talked, but because of what we discussed the last episode, I think it's smart for everybody to stop putting, oh, this has lemons or this has mature content. Yeah. Go ahead and put it in your author's notes. Don't put it in the summary, because you're you're painting a target on your head to be reported or get picked on or whatever by those people that feel the need to report.
Because the thing is, especially when you log into or when you click on fanfiction.net, it automatically filters out mature stories. So if someone wants to read something rated M, they've got to take that step and click on that. So I don't think you need that warning in there. I mean, obviously, if it's a darker story, you could say dark fic. That's fine. But
don't put that there's smut in there, because that is going to be the first thing that they were going to try to get the hell out of there.
Yeah.
Okay, so and then there's another, like a lot of people, not a lot of people, but some people will use quotes from their stories. Like a really interesting one that's going to grab your attention. Yeah. And Mel Like Mellow has one. I guess she's been around for a little while. Yeah, since 2002, but she hasn't really updated, as you said. But there's one. Oh God. Like, she has tons that just have, like, really, you know, I'm not really going to read any of them, but you pretty much have, like, a sentence that's going to make them, like, get really excited, like, ooh, I really want to open this and read it, you know? Like, just something that's going to be an attention grabber. That's all you really need. And make sure that you're spelling words correctly. No text because nobody's going to open it if that's the case. Oh, God.
Because, definitely double check the spell check. Because I think that's something that I do. I always write my summaries in my Word document first, just in case. Spell check, and I get those squiggly lines and get that gone before, you know.
Before you make a fool
you post.
Exactly. Okay. I'm going to... Oh, sorry. What were you going to say?
All I was going to say is, like, I've just been looking through my favourite stories, so the stories that I favorited from fanfiction.net. So I like all of the summaries on there. So if anyone ever wants to see, like, examples of good summaries, I just, like, go to my favourites, or probably any of your guys' favourites, and and those will be good examples there. So
Yeah.
And it's okay if you take like a little while. Sometimes when I'm like stuck at a part in a chapter, if it's the beginning, you know, like the very first chapter, I try to figure out what I'm going to write in the summary.
Yeah.
It may take a few hours, you know, it's okay. Take your time with it. It's not posted until it's on there. You know,
Yeah,
you
and-
don't have to worry about it until you're going to post it and it's on the site. So you can take as much time as you need to be able to post a summary.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can go back and edit your summaries as well, you know, as your
Exactly.
story progresses and things like that. I mean, yeah. Can I just say to Sophia, because she says, I barely realised you're wearing a Goku t-shirt. I'm just going to show off my shirt. Really cool Goku t-shirt, because I'm very excited about it.
I love it. I think it's cute.
Yeah. I'm even wearing the blue underneath. I was trying to go for, like,
Oh,
Goku.
yeah, those black. Good to know. Good to know.
No.
All right, I'm
I
going to
needed
read some
a
of these
brighter
questions if you don't mind.
Go for it. Make sure
All right,
you
we have
select it.
Susanna. Oh, I can't select it. I'm going to go with the
Oh,
Susanna
okay.
thing.
Okay.
Tell me when you select it. I wanna
Okay.
read it. There's
Selected.
a little- All right. So it says, sorry if this is somewhat off topic, and this is from Susanna, but it's always something that I struggle with. I always have trouble visualizing characters, visualizing what characters are doing, certain actions, putting those visualizations into words. How come I can't read it?
How do you guys go about doing this? Do you go off of experience?
Okay. Is
I
this
also
like
trouble
how we
visualizing-
write it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. It
I'm
plays out
assuming
like a
this is how
movie
we
in my
write it.
head. It plays out like a movie in my head. I kind of go off
Yeah.
of my own experiences too. Not all the time, but
I personally go through, like, whenever I'm, like, typing, especially Vegeta out, like, I'm usually there mumbling to myself, and it's usually I'm trying to visualize, okay, well, this is what he's saying, and, you know, if I were saying this, my hands would be, like, flying, and, you know, I don't know, that's just how I do it.
yeah.
Do you know, I was writing Vegeta dialogue yesterday, and in this dialogue he was angry, and I realised that I was actually snarling as I was typing. I was like
I do
this.
the same thing.
I like
Yeah.
typing, so get into it. I think if
Are
anyone
you-
would watch me write, they'd be like, what a freak. But anyway,
Well, you know,
I know,
it's
like when Bulma's
I-
reacting sometimes to what he's saying, like my face kind of gets all mad, like I'm angry.
yeah.
It's so funny.
But
I do the same thing.
I have kind of almost, and I hope it doesn't get boring for people, but like many kind of set words that I'll go to if I'm trying to explain. Like I said, Vegeta, to me, he snarls, he growls, he sneers, he's
Big
got a
Maymay
twitch
is,
in
there
his
she is.
face. Yeah.
no.
There you are.
But
You were
like-
frozen in time.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
But there's like
Oh.
different things that you can say for different characters in terms of, I think there's almost keywords that you can find to help you write these things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it's so fun to kind of write, you know, sometimes like the dialogue, it's hilarious because it's like, sometimes like they fight with you when you're trying to write them. Like they really do. Like Vegeta tests my patience because it's like you want him to go a certain direction, you want them to build, but more she says stuff, the more this character wants to rebel against what she's saying because that's just his personality, and you're like, well, son of a bitch, how the hell is she ever gonna like him?
Yeah.
It's never gonna happen.
I wonder sometimes if someone who's just a reader kind of like gets what I say when I say like this is, I didn't write this is Vegeta's fault, but I feel like sometimes if you get into those characters and you're writing, they do take it in different directions that you didn't even, you know, as you're writing your story will change.
Yeah.
I can never stick to a plan. I can't stick to a plan half the time.
I can't either.
because,
You know, you have
yeah.
some well, where you want the story to go. Sometimes it goes all the way in left field, and you're like, "Whoa, that I never thought that was going to happen." Like,
Yeah.
there's this one part in one of my stories that I think you guys, well, you, May, should probably know about that I was not intending in the very beginning of the story, but right now it's kind of like another character is involved, and you're like,
Oh,
"Whoa,
yeah.
what?" Yeah. So it's kind of like,
Yeah.
I never intended that to happen, but now it just seems so awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to answer the next question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, wait. Am I doing it?
Yeah. How about it?
Okay, so she said Portia? Is it Porsche?
Oh, first off, to explain why she's saying oops is that she typed in Vegeta and I think she hit enter way too fast.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Vegeta's a hard question to write. How do you focus on the flow of the dialogue while staying in character? It just happens. I don't know. It just kind of plays like a story in my head. So I can see it all happening in my head, and it just kind of flows out. Like, it just comes out, you know? It doesn't really... Sometimes he says some dirty-ass words, and I'm like, I would never in a million years ever say that.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say. My Vegeta swears a hell of a lot.
Me too. And he says some nasty, terrible words, and it's like, oh my god. It's like, ah!
Yeah.
Like, I cannot, like, I'm cringing as I type it out. Like, I would never call you that, Bulma. I'm so sorry. So bad.
I think he's an angry character, but I think, it helps if you kind of try and feel what that character would be feeling. And then, that's why I end up growling at my computer screen while I write Vegeta.
I do the same things, so don't feel bad. And then, I have a British accent tagged along as well.
Which I think is hilarious.
God, it's terrible. When I'm writing chapters sometimes, like, freaking hell is this freaking accent coming from? I'm not British.
Oh, well. You were in your past life.
I know, right? That's what I was just about ready to say. Maybe I was a British person in my past life.
Oh, no. All right. So do we want to talk about anything else? This thing's like an hour and a half long.
Oh my. Pretty much that's all that I have going on. If there's anything that we are missing as far as that you haven't, heard anything about, you have questions about, please feel free right now to start typing some questions as fast as you can. Come on. Any last questions?
What I might just say in the meantime is, like, the album that I added just a couple of days ago about the Daizenshu, I would use those pictures, like, for me, I'm going to use them as references for machines and stuff that I'm writing. So if I'm trying to write descriptions of outfits or machines and technology, those are really good reference things. So.
Oh, yeah, and do research. If you're going to be doing something on a completely different section, like completely different time period, completely different country, do your research, because my god, you have those crazy people out there who actually know what they're talking about. You're gonna make a ass of yourself. Yeah. And you know what? I don't know why I spelled that out when I've said the F word. I don't know how many times in all these podcasts.
It's alright. Portia actually has a good question.
Yeah.
She has a good question. Has bad reviews ever made you guys change your story plot?
In the beginning of my career my career.
You can call it your career.
Your career as a fan fiction writer.
My experience as a fan fiction writer. Yes, it has some of them, but now I'm like, F you. I don't care.
I've been tempted. I've been tempted to, but then it's like,
no, it's your story.
It's my story.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the best example I could give you guys is if you go back to Complicated Hearts. I want to say it's chapter 3. It's the longest author note I have ever written in my life. But, of course, this is an anonymous review. And they're saying, well, you should make your plot do this, this, and this, because this story's just not going to go anywhere, blah, blah, blah. And, at that point, I was like, dude, I'm so over this crap. But, I mean, there's a lot. You'll see that if you keep on writing it, the more you write, the more reviews you're going to get. Like, your story should go this way, or you should totally not make this happen. You should make this happen instead. And it's like, you know what? Cool. Why don't you write your own story? Yeah. I'll stick to mine. Thank you. So, that's don't. My advice to you is, unless you're like, man, that's a really good idea, don't. Because, I mean, you obviously have this fic, written out. You have the idea. Don't let other people sway you from your idea.
Exactly. Because
Yeah.
you have the original thought. You're the one doing it, not them.
Yeah. Holy crap,
Yeah.
balls. We have so many questions. It's not even Holy crap.
I think if I would say about that bad reviews one, I haven't ever changed my stories based on my plot based on reviews and things like that. I mean, I had one that told me that my idea was lazy, and I was like,
And then it really makes you feel bad. You seriously go right after that. It's like, well, guess what? You're not getting a chapter ever, so suck it.
But yeah, no, I haven't changed it. And I think if someone told me to do something, because I have pride, like Vegeta, I would say no. Like, I'm gonna do my own thing. So yeah.
No,
I
I'm
mean,
like that. I don't even care.
Yeah, some reviews will. I'm not saying that I don't take into account constructive criticism. Definitely take it into account. But when someone just says I don't like your story or I don't like your plot, well, the plot's the plot, and you know.
If you don't like it, don't read it.
Yeah.
Look out of it. Bye. See you later. Nobody cares.
Yeah. Mally, since it's your last podcast, I'm going to have you pick the last question to read. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I think. So.
Motherfucker. As you see my eyeballs, does it? I wish
Sophia
Sophia
has a good one. Any proud fanfic chapter scenes you wrote, like one of your all-time works. I like that question.
Hey.
Sorry. Sorry. My bad.
I'm just kidding.
Just saying.
I'm just saying. Okay. Where do you guys get your inspiration for love scenes?
Dirty little minds.
Oh dear.
Oh God, it's scary. I don't even. Do you guys want to? You guys have any juicy details for that one?
What I would say about that is, when you're reading lemons, whatever, and I'm talking not just in fan fiction, I'm talking in all fiction, novels, and whatever. Take note of the ones that you like and the ones that you think that's a bit too much. Because for me personally, I go for the whole less is more thing, and there's only so many weeping things that I can take, and I don't want to read that level of detail. So in terms of me, I'll read what other people have written and kind of take inspiration from that, and yeah.
For love scenes, you don't like detailed love scenes, do you?
I don't. I've written like one more detailed one, but I don't like extremely detailed like. I don't need to hear the slurping noises and things like that.
No,
No.
I don't need to see every level of detail. I don't need it to be like a magnifying glass down at Vegeta's crotch, like showing me every single
you know what?
function.
Sometimes I like that. One good one in a story. One good one. The rest of them can be like, okay, you get it.
Yeah.
Yes, they're doing it.
I would say, I think
I like writing them sometimes. I like it. I don't care. I guess I'm just a
and I mean it depends as well, because I think there's the difference between a PWP and like a multi-chapter story where you've got really serious kind of deep drama and issues and things like that going on. That's something different again, So it depends. But yeah.
I guess I haven't really. Well, I don't know. I don't really know how I should answer that one. May, come on. I picked the wrong one. Dig me out.
Okay. Okay, we'll go with this one. Sophia's. Any proud fanfic chapter scenes you wrote, like one of your all-time. Like one or all of your works you're mostly proud of.
I'm proud of my unconventional love that has an enormous amount of detail and it's so backed up. I don't even know how the hell I'm going to finish it. If I'm going to finish it.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I think I'm most proud of the scene in Point Blank where Vegeta kills I forgot. Jace, with a ketchup bottle to the chest.
Oh my god, that was
most...
my favorite scene, like, ever. I know, I think I texted you, and I was like,
yeah.
oh my god, did you just kill someone with a freaking ketchup bottle? And you're just like, yep, and I'm like, that's fucking awesome. Rock on.
I tried to make each person's death kind of like, I don't know, original. And so I turned to my husband and like, what's the weirdest object I could kill this guy with? He had a ketchup bottle. He's like, ketchup? I'm like, ketchup. So I don't know. That's my most favorite scene.
That is so funny. I totally remember that now.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah. What about you, Kay?
It's tricky. I think in terms of stories, I'm most proud of decoding the Saiyan at the moment because it's finished and and because I like the way that I set it out, and I think I kind of like I stuck to what I wanted to do there. It's hard to pick like a single scene or something like that. The other story that I'm proud of is my Goku Chi-Chi one that I've only got one chapter of at the moment, but I think I kind of did it well, you know, and for but it's completely off the topic here on a VB thing,
No,
but
but you're proud of it.
But I think I mean
Writers Workshop. Didn't say VB Writers Workshop.
Yeah, well, I think sometimes it's hard to get Goku right, so I'm proud of that one. So that's I've forgotten even the name of it. For Promised Joy, yeah. But yeah.
We all have our
proud moments.
So
Yeah.
you know, hey.
I think.
Okay, so.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, we need to wrap this up, man.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Sorry, guys, we can't answer all your questions.
But I'm gonna I think it would be cool to have a hangout right after this. So if anyone wants to join us,
I have to. Yeah. I will jump on after. I have to tan my mom. So.
Okay. Well, I'm going to start a hangout. Pick if you want to join, Amy, if you want to join. Anybody else that wants to join, I am going to post something on the community right after this asking who wants me to send them an invite if you guys would like to join, and just kind of ask them more questions if you'd like, just because I kind of feel bad because we're kind of rushed on time here. And we can just kind of chitty-chat and just talk and whatever. It would be freaking fantastic. So, yeah, thank you all for coming and watching live and actually asking questions and stuff. I really appreciate it. And I want to say that I had so much fun with this community as the podcast and all that stuff. Like, it's really awesome. I'm just so happy that I have met, like, Megan. Megan's, like, been everything, you know, such a great, like, person to keep, like, me sane through this whole entire thing. I'm not going to be going away forever. I will be here, but I just need some time. Not very, you know, happy with how everything has been going lately, and obviously I'm taking the coward's way out and just trying to get some room for myself. But May is going to have spring and by summer, fall possibly.
Maybe she's been sick.
She'll figure something out. It'll be fine. See. Podcasts will be just the same. Everything will be perfecto. But I will be the crazy lady in the question and answer, I'm sure.
Oh, God.
So thank you again. I really, really appreciate everything that you guys have done for this community. Please keep this community alive because this Chicky Poo here has done a lot to try to figure out where we could go for this BV thing because there's, you know, it's really died off over the years, and we don't want it to die off at all.
Well, and I think, I forgot who said it, I think Avery said that once the movie comes out, Battle of the Gods comes out next month, I think there's going to be a wave of new fans. So I'm hoping that we'll get a whole bunch more people in the community. So you guys keep on spreading the word, you know, if you're writing reviews, if you're updating chapters, just tell people about the community because
we're just saying.
Yeah, we're just saying.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you guys. Again,
all right.
Wait, you have to
maybe.
Okay.
I know.
All right.
Bye. Bye, everybody.